first just ask the group, how's everyone experiencing the pandemic in the sense of business? What's the impact been? I mean, I know aside from everyone having to process PPP loans, we know that that's kind of a known thing. But I'm more concerned that now we've gone through the processing and okay, we're managing the loan structure. Now we're moving into an environment where we're on sort of like the opening. What are you seeing from your clients? Anyone have any thoughts on that? Like, what are people wanting to go? Have you seen any movement that, hey, we got to move online or we got to change processes, businesses pulling back? What's the thought there? Anyone?
Hi, Jonathan. Excuse me. This is Melissa in Connecticut. I have a couple of attorney clients, and then I'm sorry. Is this better? I have a couple of attorney. I have a couple of attorney clients, and then I have clients in BNI that are attorneys, and I mean they're making it work through this time. Obviously, business is down, but they're still going. Nobody's really looking, I think, beyond right now, except maybe for a haircut.
I can't get a haircut. Anyone have any other thoughts about what's happening? Just kind of curious what people are seeing. Okay, so not a chit-chatty group.
Well, I can say something actually regarding lawyers. The family law services are the ones really that are more active now because people are in the home and they fight more, I guess, so they have more clients in that point. So that's what I experience with my clients.
Yeah, so what we're seeing at LeanLaw is that a few things. I'll just kind of share what we're saying. Number one, we had a super busy March and April. So firms that had already made a decision to change software seemed to follow through with that, even in the middle of stay-at-home orders. And we had a few very large clients that onboarded and saw no business as usual. Now, this last week, meaning this and last week, was the first time we saw a little bit of slowdown in our queue of firms. We're seeing a lot of small firms being very active, but we're not seeing what we call mid-size firms being active. Now that's changed a little bit because I had 2 calls today already with law firms that were both what we deem mid-market and LeanLaw. And then the second one that I just got off, that phone call was specifically a firm that is struggling. They're on a tool called Tabs 3, and it's offline and it's a pain because the office was closed for 8 weeks and now it's opening, but it's still going to open with lots of slowness. And they're saying we've got to make a move. Now, they don't want to make a move to July and August, so they're not that motivated. So we've seen 1 or 2 firms accelerate the process, but most are either staying with their plans or, I think there's a little slowdown here. So just an FYI on that from our side. We see the activity, we see the movement. What we expect, someone needs to mute themselves because there's some typing going on. It might be you, Karen. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's just, I heard that noise.
Sorry about that. That was me.
Okay, I'm gonna mute just so you know. Now I don't know why that. So we're seeing that. So the other thing we expect is that folks are going to get really busy in the summer to fall because we would have stabilized. We're not seeing lawyers slowing their business down. Now the courts were closed, and even though we're still slowed from civil litigation, we're still seeing, the court slowed down. We're seeing a lot of lawyers still lawyering. So their businesses haven't been overly impacted. You're absolutely right, Rosanna, when you said a family law practice may have some, issues, or even maybe some of the retail practices like contingency. But in general, law moves forward. And what we anticipate is that as people come out of the funnel and things stabilize and open, and we get back to whatever this quote unquote new normal is, what we think is going to happen is a lot of people are going to accelerate migration into new platforms because they just are fed up with being offline with that. And I want to speak to something really quick. I didn't plan on bringing this up, so bear with me while I pull up the email, while I pull up the document, but it is, let me just pull this up because I want to talk a little bit about where we're seeing some deal flow. And I'm going to spend the first bit of LeanLaw talking about where we're having, I want to find this one email. Here it is. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. And I want to just show a little bit the competitive landscape. So, and I want everyone in the group, and we'll be evangelizing this more, but when we talk about the competitive landscape in the legal space, it breaks into two groups. Group one is the offline group. Can everyone see my screen? I know I muted everyone, but if someone can just make sure that
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, thank you. So when we look at the competitive landscape, and I'm happy to share this with the group, you're seeing two major groups, and then with the online, and one's the offline group and one's the online group, and then two subgroups on the online. This is when I say that when we look at the year ahead, this is where you're going to see a lot of people churning. And when we look at this group, the micro and very small mid are coming from time slips. When you get into tabs, juris, PC law, that gets into the mid-size law firm. So when I say micro, a micro firm is 1 to 4 kind of users / attorneys. A mid goes from 5 on up. So when we're talking about small micro, you're talking about 5 to 10 users. That's a time slips. You might get a tabs 3 there, and you might get a PC law. When you start getting north of 10, you'll start to see them in juris, pro law, PC in PC law. So it's these tools that are offline that we're going to start to see more movement away from, and it becomes opportunistic. And when we think about LeanLaw, I'm going to get into some strategic things happening in LeanLaw so everyone's aware of it. You're going to see this is where the lion's share of the deal flow is going to come from. So you who wants to work with attorneys, recognizing that these are platforms that people are on, and knowing that people are going to move off of them, especially if you're working with certain niches of clients, it's important to understand that. The second group is the online group, and I break that up into two components. The first are those that have accounting built into it, and there's 3 major players there. And one note, SharePoint used to be called Rippey Kingston. They are uber high end in terms of typically 40 plus attorneys, but they recently got purchased and changed the name to something called SharePoint. They're a hybrid solution. The accounting is actually integrated and done offline, but then the attorney piece is online. So it's a hybrid offline-online environment. In the if you can ask a question, because I'm by myself today. So it looked like they chatted, I think. I don't know that I can pull. Yeah, okay. Cheryl wants me to share it. Yeah, I'll share this. I have a Google Doc, and I'll share it out with the group in a second. The second group is this grouping, which is 3 companies. These are the online folks: Zola, Cosmolex, and Centerbase. Centerbase is a really slick company, and these are all practice management tools with accounting integrated. So the idea is that this is the anti-QuickBooks. They don't want to use QuickBooks. They want to build their own accounting. And Centerbase is a new entity out of Texas that's now in the play. Cosmolex is more geared towards micro firms. Zolo kind of does micro up to mid-sized firms. All 3 companies are interesting. Cosmolex got bought by the same company as Tabs 3. So Tabs is the offline tool. Cosmolex is the online tool. Zolo and Centerbase are both online only. In group 2, you see sort of the standard players, which is Clio, MyCase, Smokeball, Rocket Matter, etc. All these guys do invoicing as a function of practice management. So we're going to see these are big PM tools that are practice management tools that are, meant to be full featured. Some of them interact with QuickBooks in some type of rudimentary way. Some don't even, or do so in such a bad way you wouldn't say it. Like TimeSolve is an interesting tool, but they don't do any real-time connection. They do all their QuickBooks connection with the UIFF file. Clio probably is the next to LeanLaw, probably the best at integrating with QuickBooks, although they have aspirations to build their own accounting tools as well. So when we look at this second group here, where people are coming from, we get a fair amount of deal flow coming off of Cosmolex and a fair amount of deal coming from Practice Panther and Bill for Time. Those are the two tools that you see a lot of shedding, and mostly people are frustrated with their QuickBooks integration and they don't want to pay for it. So just a little bit, knowing that downstream later this summer, people are coming off of these and wanting to go online. These are the tools they're going to be coming off of, and these are the tools they're going to be considering in addition to LeanLaw. The only tool that's similar to LeanLaw as an invoicing only tool that has deep integration with QuickBooks is eAbility. But they do legal as a function. They're not as efficient at their integration with QuickBooks, and they've moved away from trying to be a legal billing tool and more to being a time tracking tool. So they've instituted time tracking. So we don't really see a lot of competition, but I refer to them when people are saying who else is in the marketplace. Okay, any questions on that from the group? I want to talk a little bit about where LeanLaw is going, a little bit strategically for us. We just redid our front end of our webpage, and the most significant thing that we did is we released a new product called Pro and Core. And I want everyone to begin to understand the why behind it and what it means to folks. So we started the company with the explicit mindset that we were going to be invoicing only and have deep integration with QuickBooks. What we learned along the way were two fundamental truisms. One was that the accounting community, you folks, were really critical to our success, and we'll continue to support that to the point that we've hired someone who will start to begin to interact with the accounting pro program, and we're building curriculum to do training modules to get certification programming. So that's happening now. The second thing we discovered is that for us to succeed and for what we're really interested in doing is to focus on mid-market. When we look at 1s and 2s and 3-person firms, and what we found was they were very difficult to support, and they were challenging in that they were, they needed all this QuickBooks support that we couldn't necessarily offer them because of our system. So we're not abandoning them. What we did is we said, let's create a product that's focused on mid-market, and we called that Pro. And that product is going to be very closely aligned with QuickBooks Online Advanced. We then cleaned up a second version of LeanLaw. Cleaned up meaning we took out the more sophisticated pieces that the smaller firms didn't need or didn't want, and we called the core price, and we lowered the price. So this is actually less expensive. Well, I take that back. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's very much in alignment with, we were charging $28 a month when paid annually, and now it's $30. So we kept that in alignment for the smaller firms. So when you're thinking about LeanLaw, the core distinction between the two programs is really built into 3 or 4 classifications. Core is meant to be for those law firms that need a very simplified workflow. They just want, good cloud-based accounting or good cloud-based invoicing and time tracking with, our integration to QuickBooks. Pro is meant for a firm that has more sophisticated requirements, and that kind of breaks up into 4 groupings. 1, more control. So we're talking about roles and what users see in the product and being able to finesse that down to paralegals can see this but can't see this. Attorneys can see their stuff but can't see others. So the minutia of roles. Secondly, bulk. The idea that they can process in batch invoices to drafts, or they can process batch invoicing. They can process bulk payments. you know, or they can send things in batch. So all of the things that you would do in bulk activity. The third sort of tenet of Pro is more advanced reporting. So this is where you're going to get your, you know, revenue by attorney reports that do origination and firm shares. This is where you're going to see your, you know, coming down the line write down. You're going to see more sophisticated reporting in our Pro feature. And when it's able, we'll have that tied into, you know, specific features within QuickBooks Advanced. Like right now, we're talking about custom form fields. In QuickBooks Advanced, the custom form fields that they have in QBOA are not available in the API for us to write into. So we're evangelizing like crazy to advocate for those to be open, because obviously you want to tag something in LeanLaw and have that pass over to the custom form field. The last sort of tenet of Pro is more sophisticated accounting. So that's where you see matter-based accounting. That's in Pro, you're going to see leads billing, things of that nature. So in summary, Core is meant for a lighter version, very simplified, very easy to use. We sort of target it towards our micro firms or those mid-sized firms that really want a very simplified environment. Pro is for most larger firms that need more control over the users, more bulk activities, more sophisticated reporting, and more advanced billing. That's the sort of breakout of those two. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Okay, I'll keep going. So when we talk about what LeanLaw is doing from a biz dev standpoint, where we're headed is we are going to be working, and it's not official, but we're going to be working closely with Intuit as they begin to position QuickBooks Online Advanced in the mid-market. It's no secret that Intuit has launched QBOA. It's no secret that the professional services, and specifically legal, is of a major focus to them. That's all there. And so we have had the opportunity to begin to chat with them and to help them understand what the requirements are for law firms, and what that, you know, what they need in terms of features, and potentially even do some co-marketing and co-sales with them. So basically deal flow comes in, and LeanLaw is going to be one of the partners that they refer to and say, hey, for you client needing QuickBooks Online Advanced, you know, LeanLaw is a viable solution. And we're already in their marketing collateral, but we're talking about different ways of how to advance that. What that means to our LeanLaw Accounting Pro community is twofold. One is we now have a voice to the essentially the product managers of QuickBooks Online Advanced. So we become your voice if you don't have it. I mean, some of you do because you're savvy enough to have that relationship with Intuit. But if there is a feature or frustration with QuickBooks Online Advanced as it relates to supporting law customers, we want to hear it. We want to know where the shortcomings are, because we want to take that voice, organize that voice, and bring it up into the Intuit ecosystem. That's number one, is we're your voice, and you know, we want to support you. Cheryl, you raised your hand. You have a question?
I do. What version of QuickBooks are Core and Pro? Are they all you have on the Advanced for Pro and
Pro will work with any version of Pro will work with any version of LeanLaw, but you'll see us market the two together because there will be some specific features in LeanLaw Pro that will light up features in QuickBooks Online Advanced. But in general, there's no specificity that you have to use, you know, QBOA to work with Pro. It'll work with Essentials and Start and whatnot. So you don't have to. But what happens is there are certain features in different versions of QuickBooks that we've written features to tap into, that QuickBooks starts moving features around, and all of a sudden you need the newer version or the upgraded version of QuickBooks because we wrote a feature that they said now is only available in, you know, Plus.
Right. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, you'll see that happen in Advanced. So we, you know, custom form fields is a function of Advanced. So we'll write some features there with that. So so I think that answers your question.
Yes, that does. Thanks.
Okay, so I said the first opportunity is that we want to hear your voice and hear what you need for law in general, but especially in QuickBooks Online Advanced because we have the ear of that team. The second thing is that our LeanLaw Accounting Pro team community is going to be even more valuable to us because as law firms come into our ecosystem, we want to be able to refer them. And I can see the names on this list, and some of you have actually, I've personally referred to, but you'll also see in our LeanLaw page, later this year, we're going to be working, we're actually evolving this page right now, but what we're talking about here in our LeanLaw Accounting Pro page is that we want to begin to bring this list of users out into our product. So we're a small company and we just kind of took a swag at it in the beginning to try to get something up. And then we did another version of it where now we have these nice little pages. When you look at Allison, you can see, she's got this really nice page and she's got this good about, and she's very clear about, her services and who she prefers to work with. So I really encourage you that this is super important because we get into sales conversations with clients and we start doing searches and we'll pull this up live in front of a customer. And if you have a nice picture and you have good information on you and good about, that helps that recipient receive your information and be able to communicate that, be able to articulate your professionalism to them and how you add value to that law firm. But what we're going to end up doing is taking this data and ingesting it into our program such that when you're onboarding, I'm just going to open up my demo account because I'm going to come back here and show some new features in the second half of our meeting. When you're onboarding and you click into this and go to QuickBooks and you see, I'm not setting, but maybe you click this and it's something accounting centric, we might pop up through intercom saying, hey, we really recommend you having a bookkeeper or an accounting professional help you. Here's a list of them. We're trying to bring your community to specific places in LeanLaw to connect that attorney or that law firm that is in a moment where they'd be well advised to communicate with our accounting pro with that team. So it's not just about us making referrals, which we intend to do and will still continue to do. I just got off the phone this morning with a new 3-person law firm coming in San Francisco, and they're like, can you please send me names of people who you think are good in California and specifically San Francisco? So I happen to know this Neil Kugler's in San Francisco. So, and that's all about personal relationships, and I'd like that to be scalable and perfect, but it's, I'm looking at the list myself saying who's a good fit for me to refer to them. But just know that this page that I showed you here is how we're introducing you to that attorney. And so when you think about this page and what you're writing, and we're happy to make updates, the value that you offer, why it's helpful to work for is really important to be well articulated here. Because at the end of the day, we're making an introduction and we're sending these links and these pages to our clients, or they're discovering them on their own. Any questions on that? Okay. And that deal flow, meaning those people, as we get more leads and more mid-market, this community of folks, these LeanLaw accounting pros are really important to us because they're helping us get from A to B with clients that come in and say, how do we get from where we are to where we want to go? That's this community. These are our partnerships that we're making, and it's really important to us. And as we see LeanLaw growing and we're getting more sophisticated, we want to bring this community into that process. That's super, super important to us. So when we look ahead, as I talked about, we created these 2 products. That's really important to us. Our relationship with Intuit is still very active and it's growing. We're also going to be looking at lots of different marketing tactics as we look to uncover how to get at these decision makers and law firms that are looking to make change. So we're really highly focused on this mid-market client. It's extremely important to us in our growth. We just finished a round of financing. We hired a few key people in our company. I want to talk a little bit about that, our growth. We hired some more engineering talent, but most specifically, we hired a Her name is Tracy Todd, and she's focused on onboarding right now, but she's the one who's curating content. She is a QuickBooks Pro advisor, has worked extensively in law firms, and happened to be a teacher at community college. So she fit all of our sort of buckets we were looking for, boxes we were looking to check, and hiring her. And she's now about 2.5 months into the company. She's fabulous, and you'll start to see her move into this, move in and start to build content for this community. So those are the updates on the company. Any questions, comments, anything, feedback there? No. So a pitch to Karen Schwartz. She just joined us. Hi, Karen. I want to be really clear. As you think about wanting to work with law clients, I want everyone to not feel intimidated that you may not know LeanLaw perfectly, that we're here to help. And what I mean to be here to help is that we're here to help sell LeanLaw to your law firm clients. We're here to onboard you. And we have Karen as a partner in our community. She has come into, she's an expert at data extraction and understanding that onboarding process. She's worked with all those tools I pointed out that are changing. And she is here in our community to be supportive of you, so she can be your hire. And we're happy to connect everyone to come into a new onboarding that you're working with, to make sure that there's certain technical aspects of older programs that maybe you don't know that she's an expert on, time slips, tabs, etc., to get the data out, or to other facets of workflow. So she works with us, and she has worked with other accounting professionals, and she's here for you. And so please ask if she can ever be of value. I know that she's always would take a call and just be helpful, because that's who she is. I don't know, Karen, you want to say anything? Oh, she got stuck in a call. Happy to be helped with extractions, other areas. Yeah, okay. So she's just reinforcing what I said, that she's there. I want to spend the next bit of time talking about a few features in LeanLaw that have come on board, and I want to make sure everyone understands how they work. So I'm going to come back here and put this, that's, by the way, that's Tracy on the right. She's there in our intercom session. So we could test her to see if she's on intercom right now. So the biggest area of improvement in LeanLaw, and that's what we're trying to do in these meetups, is talk a little bit about a subject or about the company, to update on the first half of it, and then use the second half of the conversation to talk about what's happening in the product, so you have that context. If there's questions you have or things you want to understand about LeanLaw, raise them here. You've got me on the phone. I know as much about the product as anyone else. So feel free to ask. I forgot to mention one thing about some other things that are coming. This company, Gravity Legal Payments. So we're getting close to doing a deal with Gravity Legal. They are, if you guys remember the CNN and other stories about the company in Seattle that decided to pay all their employees a base salary of $70,000 regardless, that's Gravity. The CEO took a big pay cut, took money out of his own pocket to make sure that everyone could make this. That guy everyone could make the $70,000 threshold. He's based in Seattle. He's from Boise, and he bought a company here in Boise as well, another payments company. So they have a footprint here as well. They approached us at ABA wanting to find a way to have a relationship with us, and they're going to be integrated in our product to solve a very specific problem that we have for our clients, which is the request of a trust payment. We've been evangelizing out to Intuit with the QuickBooks Payment Network to evolve that to receive trust funds, but that's an uphill battle because of just they're a big company and it's a small little piece of the puzzle. So we brought in Gravity, and Gravity is going to build infrastructure inside of LeanLaw such that a client could request that trust fund. Now let's keep in mind, when we request trust, it's kind of a unique transaction in that it's not an invoice, it's not revenue. We've got to handle it in a specific way and make sure the money goes directly into the IOLTA account. We need to make sure that the fees are pulled out of an operating account because the client's not responsible. So there's all sorts of rules that relate to this. So Gravity's trying to solve two problems. One is the request of that money, make sure that it's done in a compliant way. But secondly, help integrate into QuickBooks such that the accounting is easier to manage. We actually offer them, they took up a suggestion and they're going to make a QuickBooks app and help manage that so that the accounting will happen in a clean way. So that's one thing that's happening with the company. The second is that we're working with this company, Reach Reporting. Karen's on the phone. She's a partner of ours, and she brought a client to LeanLaw that has a very, how do I say it, a very vigorous appetite for data. And the data isn't just QuickBooks data or LeanLaw data, it's actually a mashup, and it needs to be visualized in a certain way. So she worked with some other folks and brought the relationship of Reach Reporting to us. Reach is a really interesting data visualization tool that can take data from multiple different places, HubSpot, QuickBooks, eventually LeanLaw. And we're discussing a relationship with them to be able to create dashboards of data extractions from multiple sources such that you can have this trusted advisor relationship with your client saying what KPIs are really important. Maybe it's there's certain KPIs that are important to a specific law firm, and visualize them in such a way that meets the, either the general partners or the attorney's needs. So LeanLaw is not great at data visualization. We're great at data. These guys are great at data visualization. So we want to bring that into LeanLaw and bring that relationship. Another company that we're talking about doing some work is Perform Law. So this is a consultative firm that is about helping law firms run better. So we'll be doing some content marketing with these folks and some partnerships. So these are the brains. So where Reach can visualize it, QuickBooks and LeanLaw can produce the data. These guys are the ones that can help articulate it and articulate it in a meaningful way. So we'll see some interesting opportunities. They're not bookkeepers per se or accountants. They're law firm strategists, and we're very interested in bringing their sort of intellect into LeanLaw. The last relationship that I have to report that's in the early stages is this, and they're a very new company called Selah. And they're not much of a website here, but what they do, one of the criticisms of LeanLaw is that we don't do practice management and never want to and never will. Practice management meaning email, document managing, docketing, tasks, CRM, etc. So Selah is a company built on top of Salesforce. The people there are from a company called Rippey Kingston, which I mentioned earlier. They're offshoots of that. And they've built a product that is coming to market that's not a good, I want to visualize something that visualizes this. I don't have the graphic, but Selah basically is a layer that gives the law firm a practice management tool, but all of the data is housed in best-of-breed tools. So if you're using Microsoft 365 for document management, email management, etc., Salesforce and the Salesforce database will be the CRM function. They'll bring in another tool for docketing and court rules. We're discussing LeanLaw then being the invoicing tool and QuickBooks the accounting tool, such that a client can buy LeanLaw and then have a tandem Selah as the PM, and both tools will work seamlessly together. So those are the sort of business development activities that we're seeing, and we like Selah a lot. They're new. We're also looking at some other practice management tools because we're seeing opportunities that clients are coming to us and saying, we like LeanLaw, but Karen, Selah absolutely works with net documents. That's the tool that they prefer to use. So, but some people don't want net documents, so you can put your stuff in SharePoint in OneDrive as well. They don't work with Box or World Docs or some of the others, but they're super cool. And we've got one client that we're working together to sort of do a proof of concept of the relationship. I have another client that I'm pitching this week to do another proof of concept, and if it goes well, then we'll do a full integration with them. They're really affordable. They're only $40 per user. So if you think about a LeanLaw Selah, you're still sub $100 for your practice management tool and your invoicing tool. So it becomes very manageable for a firm to use those two tools. All right. I'm going to put this all away and talk a little bit about some things that we changed in the product or brought into the product. And the first thing I want to focus in on a little bit on reports, because I think they get missed a lot. We just recently updated our trust report. So when we look at trust, a few things to note. When I look at this trust, I can see the client. Of course, I can show it by matters at the matter level if we're doing matter-based accounting. I can also show clients that have $0 balances. We kind of hide the $0 balances, so there are some filters here. When I look at the trust, I'm seeing what the live number is, who the responsible attorney is, which trust account it is if there's multiple, what the WIP is, so I can see a WIP to trust ratio here, and of course any AR balance. So you can see I've got here, you know, I've got more WIP. That number doesn't look right. It shouldn't be 8%. I'm not sure why that's there. But when I click into it, I now can see, you know, details about the matter and whatnot. So I can see different details. And shortly, I think I don't have it released yet, but this trust report will also show you trust transactional activity. So you can come right to the trust report and dig into that and see that. Another one that we have that I just want everyone to be aware of is this revenue by attorney report. This shows specific reporting. This is not new, but I just want everyone to know it's there. This showing what is billed, what is collected. Okay. Karen wrote a note saying the 8% represents how much you have in trust to go towards WIP. I think you're right, but that looked wrong because it was opposite. That's why I kind of looked wrong to me, because it looked, there was, it seems like you'd have a, maybe it's, yeah, maybe it's, you have 8%, but that's not even 8%, Karen, that's 30%. So it just looks wrong. I don't know why that, I pivoted off of it. I have a demo version which routinely breaks. So I'm not sure. I'll have to ask Fred why it's 8%. That doesn't make any sense to me, why that number is 8%. I mean, if anything, you've got, you know, you've got $36,000 and 10 in trust. So you at least have 30% roughly, you know, 28% there. So the 8 doesn't make any sense to me. So I guess sometimes it doesn't work, software. But anyways, revenue by attorney report, super important report. We can look at the different timekeepers. We can different who's billed, what we've collected. And this collected piece is really important because we overcome an acute deficiency. I remember talking to Karen early on and her beef about QuickBooks Online, in that QBO could only deal with revenue as a whole number. So AR was a number. It didn't delineate expenses from, it didn't delineate the expenses, or now I've got Karen telling me trust balance divided by WIP was around 8%. Okay, so maybe it was right. So when we look at the collected amount, the algorithm takes out the expenses and applies the income based on who contributed to the matter. We also have a feature in LeanLaw that if we have users set up, so if I come into my user and I click into Frank Lawler, who's a timekeeper, I can say Frank's revenue can be attributed to the responsible. So if I have subordinates and people who are responsible in this revenue report, any matter Frank contributed to would go to whoever was that responsible attorney. So you can see Frank's got $2,500 in billed. If I save this and refresh, we should see Frank go away, and his money would be attributed. You see he's gone now, and whoever he was working for, they would get Frank's money. So you have the ability to designate people's money to other people based on being subordinates or keep them itemized. When I look at the report, I can see what was collected. And remember, collected is what was collected in QuickBooks and or LeanLaw. And we've taken out the expenses, and in partial payments, we will, on a pro rata basis, apply the partial payment. If I drill into that, I can see the details of what was collected and what the share. The share simply means is they had to give money up to the firm or to other originators. So that's their collected share, is the 6,600. And if I drill down in this, I can see what invoices actually attributed to that income. So this creates a unique transparency. So here's some new features that are coming into LeanLaw. I want to first speak to the roles. This is in alpha right now, so it's not totally live, but I can give you a kind of a conceptual idea. One of the ideas for mid-market and larger firms is that they need to have roles and get very specific as to what timekeepers or paralegals or so on see. And there's really two parameters here. One is, can they see all or just the matters that they have access to, right? So that's the first of what they have visibility to. And secondly, can they edit or can they view only? So this is a very sketch of it that Fred put out so I could communicate where we're headed. He's working behind the scenes to deliver a more sophisticated version of roles that has some pre-formatted templates, but it allows you to get down to the granular level of what users can see what data in LeanLaw and what data they can edit. So as an example, you might have this trust activity where an attorney can see a specific matter of trust, right? But this deposit funds and record a payment function wouldn't be there. We don't want them to be able to edit things or, have functionality, but they can view the data. They can see those transactions. So, and side note, Fred fixed something, did some caching. If you notice how fast those transactions just appeared, that just got very fast. He kind of solved the chasm there. So roles is something that will be released in the product immediately. We have an alpha client or a beta client that's about ready to get this, a 30, 40 person law firm. As soon as that's done, this will release to all. And please keep in mind that any clients that were prior to our pricing change are grandfathered in indefinitely. So any clients that were already on LeanLaw will get the pro features. So we just said it was easier to say thank you. We're just going to give you the pro features. We're not going to ask you to upgrade or modify. If someone wanted to downgrade to core just to make it tighter and cleaner, we're happy to do that for them. But this don't feel like someone has to upgrade to get some of these features. It's just part of the product. So you as the LeanLaw accounting pro can come in and help that law firm set up and ask the questions, what users should see what data, and help them control that. A second area of product improvement is in this billing workflow, and specifically in this QuickBooks tab. So in the QuickBooks tab, we focused in on invoice management, because you remember LeanLaw's job is to produce the draft invoice, pass it over to QuickBooks where it becomes a realized invoice. One of the challenges is that there were people in the law firm that didn't want to go to QuickBooks and go to sales and have to manage a queue of invoices here. Now, so we said, how can we bring some of that into LeanLaw? And there were really two functions here that we wanted to focus on. One was invoice payment, especially payment from trust, and secondly, invoice delivery. So let's talk a little bit about when we onboard a client. So if I head back to LeanLaw and I go into my matters and I look at a client now, under the QuickBooks tab, we have these invoice delivery parameters and terms. Default refers back to the default in QuickBooks. So whatever the firm set up as default will default to that. But if that client has a specific parameter, like they prefer it to be emailed and we want the terms to be net 20, we can set that up matter by matter, client by client. And when I do that, these settings directly translate into the client. So if you see, and I go back to Jackie, here, you can see she's net 20 and she's send later for an email. So this allows you in the onboarding process to set specific terms. And when I set and deem something email or print, those parameters have direct result here for delivery. So let's review this. These 4 attributes kind of help you deliver. And this is a first version. We expect this to get better as we work through it. We wanted to put something out, learn how people use it, then we're going to modify the workflow. But first we can look at the state. The state means, is it not paid? Is it not paid and overdue, or if it's paid? And you've got to keep in mind with LeanLaw, when I look and say I want to look at one client, Jackie Ratton paid invoices, all of these invoices are the exact same invoices as Jackie's invoices here. So when I filter this and show me all just the invoices, these are the same invoices. All these paid invoices are the exact same paid invoices I see here. So when we're thinking about invoice production, I'm probably going to first look at a period and show me what's not paid. Now I've narrowed it to Jackie, so I'm going to take it off of Jackie. The next question is, I might say, which clients prefer to be emailed? Or I might start with saying, show me clients with trust money. So in this instance, because I don't have a great data set, I'm showing clients, I have one client that has trust. And if I had more than one, I could use batch functions to pay from trust. So I could use this and check a bunch of them and pay for trust. So the first is the state, and the second allows me to add secondary attributes. Maybe I want to look at clients with leads files and do a batch download here with delivery to leads files. So this tool allows you to sort of sort through what you're doing. Now, I might start by saying, show me all clients not paid, not with leads, without trust, that want to be printed. Here's my list. So in a sort of batch way, I can just say, batch these all out, deliver via print, and I can download those as a PDF. So that allows me to sort of in batch tools, look at a group. I might have those, and I don't have a good example here, but those that are ready to be emailed, who are not leads and don't have trust. And LeanLaw would have the ability to deliver that client via email. And that's sending it through QuickBooks, just so you know. It's just telling QuickBooks to pay that. So these filters allow us to look at specific activities. Now, I want to look at those with trust. Let me get without leads. I want a different client. So I'm going to go back to ready to bill and just push some clients through because I want some clients with trust money. So let's just do a quick, let's do a quick email. I apologize that this wasn't queued up for you, but I'm just going to do a quick invoice for Jackie, and I'll do another one for Jessica, and I'll do another one for this fire engine company. I could have done it in batch, but I'm just grabbing it. So I'm going to go to drafts. Let me refresh this page and push all these to QuickBooks, real quick. So when I push these to QuickBooks and I say, you can see they're all here, let's just look at this incorporation for the fire engine company. This is the Karen Anderson feature. She advocated this on behalf of one of her clients and we created it. So the first thing I might want to do is pay this invoice from trust. And so we can do that, or I can add a trust attachment. So I'm going to pay this from trust because the first step I want to do is pay it from trust. I want to knock it out and get that trust payment on it. I'm going to make that payment. It's invoice 2397. And this is where it's a little clumsy, and this is where we'll see some process improvement. I then want to go to that paid invoice, and it's 2397, and I want to add attach a trust statement. What that's doing is taking the ledger activity from QuickBooks and tethering it as an attachment to the invoice. Thus, now I can take that invoice and deliver it over to the client via email or PDF and bring that in. So that just creates a little workflow around the idea that I can produce an invoice, pay it from trust, attach a statement. Now we're going to get some batch work there that allows you to say, pay it and attach an invoice and potentially deliver it to a client or print it, right? We'll get a little macro in phase 2 of this that facilitates it. But I more importantly want you to see that when I open this now up in QuickBooks, that LeanLaw not only can pay it from trust, but LeanLaw can add a little trust statement in addition to the memo field. So I still have the memo field that I historically have used, but now I have this trust activity report that bundles that in so they see the historical footprint there. That is a new feature that that it's being tested right now. Karen's been working with us to test it, but this should be quickly added to the product for everyone to use. And in phase 2 of it, you'll see some better automation and workflow around that. Any questions on that? I know I went through it very quickly. Okay, no questions. Is anyone muted that wants to talk? Everyone's muted, but does anyone want to talk that I'm for some reason stopping? You can chat me if you are. Okay, so just in review, this QuickBooks invoice allows you to have filters for paid and non-paid, different deliveries. Once we've printed something, you'll notice that it says the state changes from to print to printed or to email to email. So you can change those states and see what's been done. And that's the delivered grouping. This is the subset that's been delivered based on their preference there. And then these features say, show me ones with trust and show me ones with leads. The other tool that I want to show is, let me get off of paid. I don't know that it's, if I have it in my version, I don't see it here. It might be, let me do another draft. Fred just released today, and I might not have it live, the ability to add a discount directly to an invoice in LeanLaw. So taking that same discount feature that's in QuickBooks, we just opened it up in LeanLaw and add a credit. So there's that credit that you can add, what the amount is right there to do it. And we need a little bit more work to make this more sophisticated, a percentage versus a credit amount. And there's some issues about which product and service that you want to add it to it. So I think this is still a little rudimentary, but this is where we're steering towards the idea that you can actually add this credit in the draft invoice as a function of the pre-bill process. Okay, that's what I have for today. Any questions, comments? I hope this was productive for folks. I have a to-do. To deliver that competitive report to everyone. I have it out in a document. I'm happy to share that with the group. Any other things that we can do for you folks? Any other questions? Anything you need from us? Okay, no one's talking. Karen, you must have something to say.
No, I like, the improvements you've made look great. There were a couple of things that I saw that were very, very, very exciting. So, and things that have been needed. And
I will tell you that when we look at, so just to look at our queue ahead from a development standpoint, just my last comment, because I didn't mention it earlier, what's next? Roles will release to clients within probably 2 to 3 weeks, if not sooner. Right behind that is some technical work that will enable us to do Microsoft 365 integration. We see that later. We see that later in the summer, early fall. And when we think about 365 integration, we think of it from a time tracking standpoint. I'm in Outlook, and I'm working on an email. I want to capture that moment as a time entry. I'm in Word. Maybe I have some calendar entries that are a footprint. We're not looking at Microsoft 365 from a practice management standpoint. That's a big thing that's a to-do on my list. The second thing, which is next, roles, and then next is write down. We know it's an absolutely gaping hole. So write down in twofold. One is write down for individual time. I bill the paralegal put 10 hours on their timesheet for a matter. The attorney says, oh, I can't bill that. I can only bill 5. So we write it from 10 to 5. What happens to those 5 hours from a staff utilization standpoint? Those will now be recorded and be in a report. So you can see it both at the client level, client matter level, but also at the timekeeper level. The second piece will be to write down an invoice. So when we do these discounts, so we can see, well, what are we writing down, and have that at the client level as well. So write down is very important to us. That's next. It's really, this community needs it and expects it in the mid-market. And then our mobile app, which is awful. I'm an owner of the company, I can say that, is going to be updated and removed today, meaning we were submitted to both the Apple and Android store our new version of our mobile application, our mobile time tracking app. It's really great. The new one is modern, clean, fast, slick. It completely fixes all of the shortcomings that we had before. So we're very excited about that. And that should be in the store available to your clients within a week. We're just at the mercy of both stores to say, yeah, it's approved and released. Okay, That's 58 minutes of content, and that's I talked for 58 minutes. Who knew? Thank you all for your time, for your energy, for your insight. Please contributing. Make sure you get your profiles updated. Those are really important. They're going to get closer to our clients, so we really want to be able to evangelize you. Cheryl, thank you for your contribution, and have a great day, everyone. I'm going to end the meeting.